after that catastrophe of a summon session that I had recently, we at least managed to walk away with Ymir. I have a feeling when people look at him, they're probably going to be overwhelmed with his utility. He's someone that should not be overlooked just because his banner partner is the most unbalanced character in the game. So to show you guys what I mean, let's go check out what he's all about and even how to build him. His talent allows more damage. It starts with Radiant Shackle, reduces damage taken, immune to all debuffs. When immunity is triggered, gains Raging Surge that increases his crit rate, which can stack, that cannot be dispelled. After taking action, if possessing 4 or more stacks of Raging Surge and within danger zone, Radiant Shackle is removed, the turn count of buffs active on him will not decrease and can act again, which cannot be dispelled. When not possessing Radiant Shackle and entering battle, if the enemy's defense is greater than or equal to its magic defense, this attack is regarded as magic damage. After taking action, all Raging Surge stacks are removed and this unit gains Radiant Shackle. Yeah, a lot to digest right there. So to try to explain it more simpler, he basically goes on and off between like 2 different forms. Radiance is his passive form that makes him insanely bulky, and in this state, he actually wants to be hit with stuff like AoEs that can apply debuffs at least. He wants to bait the enemies into attacking him to apply those stuff in order to ramp up those surge stacks. And it's something that entices you to do so because of his 1C and 3C skill. His demon class gives better stats, never go demon whatsoever, but just know that holy enemies are really common. So it's something that you can sorta get away with. But his holy class is better overall since demon is incredibly weak against holy, plus you do have better bond effects. With his mastery stone on the armor you want HP attack and defense, headwear HP attack and magic defense, weapon accessory, HP attack and skill. The arena stones, you want an offensive set, or you can do a defensive set if you want to. Then you can try something balanced. Something I can think of is HP attack, defense and magic defense, and then crit damage. Ymir has crit rate built into his talent, so no need for any extra crit rate. The giant zombie is one of his best soldiers. They are well balanced with good sustain power. Redeemer is another one of his best choice for the revive, but just know that they are only good for the survivability. They don't have any damage increase in them. Fancy Mercenary is another one of his best choice if you don't have the zombie upgraded, as they work sorta in the same way. One of his best weapon will be the Bone Crusher for the defense drop or armor disable. Crystal Stinger for the crits and defense ignore, just make sure to get a ton of skill on him. Mimir for the sustain, Molnar to dispel a buff, then Sealed Guardian. The armor that you want is Battle Armor, Bloodline Aeolus are your next best bet, then it'll be Tenios if you don't have any of those. Otherwise you have Nebulous Robe for the HP. I would have put Timer in there, but you need to be in mixed forces for the magic damage reduction. And most of the time you're gonna see people run the Redeemer Soldier because the revive is insanely good. For the helmet, if you want more damage, then Tyr is your best choice. Star Crown is a bit unreliable since you do need a healer for its effect for the skill damage. Support helmet includes Tenios for random buff, Electric Headwear for the displacement immunity, Earmuffs for the damage res and fixed damage immunity. For survivability, you got Glory for the revive if you take fixed damage, Aeneas if you don't have that one, then Dark Crown. With the accessory, you have Judge, Slayers, and Prisoners for the killing power, even Twilight 2 for the fixed damage. Situational ones include Edge of Memory for the skill cooldown, and Shin Guard for the extra defense. For bulk, you have Swordsmith for the fixed damage immunity. You'll see people run Apostle of Doom that gives a guaranteed chance of reducing one of the enemy stats by 30% at random. This is to make sure that he actually applies the debuff since his skills revolve around that for more damage. As for enchants, you can do Clock and Breeze. Blazing Sun is not bad to use since he does have crit rate increase if you just want to see him do massive damage. The enchant stats that you want on him is mainly HP and attack, while having both defense and magic defense being your third stat. For the accessory, you can do skill as well. As always though, just focus on tons of HP and attack. Alright, so hopefully you guys have an idea on how to build your Ymir. So to anyone having trouble with this, let's get right on into his first awakening stage. Alright, so with this stage, you can be up against Leobek, Niv, and then Elise. So the skills you want on him is this 1C. You'll be able to heal while being an act again skill at the same time. You can do Roar to lower the offensive stats. If not, then you can do his unique one so that you can have Shield Bash, which stuns the enemy. The soldiers that you want to use is a giant zombie, good stats overall while having sustained power. Same thing with the Fancy Mercenary. Redeemer, you're gonna have that revive all the time, but just expect that your damage won't be as high. So if you're in a holy class, you can easily maybe one-shot Leo Beck since he is demon, and you do really want to watch out for his range at the same time as well. So it's okay if you do step back and then he does an AoE on you. It's going to be a 50-50 because he does have an assist skill that does a revive, and it's something that some of you guys may want since when Leo Beck does this, he'll take fixed damage. So with him weakened, you'll most likely have a better chance of one-shotting him. And I kind of want to position Ymir so that he does actually get hit from the AoE from Leo Beck, because I know he's going to survive, and this is going to allow him to apply more of those rage stacks. But getting hit from that black hole will be essential for you guys because it will actually reduce the cooldown of his 1C. When he has rage stacks before using this, it will actually lower the cooldown based on how many surge stacks that he has currently. So overall, this 1C will be a 4-turn cooldown, but since I have 2 stacks of their surge stacks, it will be a 2-turn cooldown. So then I can actually add again, which I didn't really need to, but I'm here to show you guys this. So I can add again, right? Builds up his rage surge stacks, and then does everything else to allow him to act again, and then we can go ahead and do some damage against Leo Beck. And you saw that he had a 2-turn cooldown on it, so we can get it back pretty quickly. And it's going to be the same method as Nif. But I did get hit from the single target skill that actually applies a debuff. So yeah, if you think you can survive from that, then it would be wise to maybe try to go for that, so that you can use his act again skill, and then after that you can go ahead and use the skill to finish off Nif. You do get some extra buffs from it, but you won't get stuff like stats increase. Those stuff aren't allowed in the awakened stage, but you do get stuff like damage reduction, damage increase, even mobility increase too. To deal with Elise, just bait her into coming to you, and then go ahead and use your act again skill to get some good buffs in, get some damage res, get some damage increase, and then you just go ahead and finish her off with whatever else you got. This is what I was talking about, that Ymir actually wants to take damage to build up his surge stacks, because all of his skills benefit from it. It may seem scary to some of you guys if your Ymir is weaker, so I can really understand if that's something that you guys can't do. With Leo Beck at least, you should be able to do it. If Nif's single target skill is too much for you, you may have to use the act again skill the way it is, while suffering from the 4-turn cooldown. It'll be really worthwhile to do so, since Elise isn't really that hard to deal with. You know, you get some huge buff from defeating the 2 characters, so dealing with the last one should be no problem. Alright, so here we are, his Thxs skill. A 4-turn cooldown, the passive on it, gains +2 mobility when not possessing Radiant Shackle. After taking action, with each stack of Raging Surge, recovers 10% of HP. It's a single target skill. If the enemy has a debuff, they cannot trigger a revive during battle. Before battle, with each stack of Raging Surge, converts one of the enemy's buff into a random debuff. If the enemy does not die, gains 4 stacks of Raging Surge at the start of the next turn, which immediately gains them when possessing Radiant Shackle. Otherwise, he can move 3 blocks, and the revive disable is only effective in PvP. So yeah, this is what I mean when he actually wants stuff to be able to apply debuffs. And his whole character revolves around having this surge stacks and applying as much debuffs as he can. Alright, so to anyone curious, this is what his 3D animation looks like. Alright, so to anyone new around here, normally I don't do the second awakening stage unless they are extremely difficult to do, which 99% of the time, they really aren't. Because you do get 3 other characters that you can use, and they're really reliable, which is all you need to know. You're not always going to be relying on your own character. Alright, so with that being said, let's go right on into his showcase. Alright, so here we are. Let's check out his talent real quick. He gets more damage, starts with Radiant Shackle, reduces damage taken, immune to all debuffs, when immunity is triggered, gains Raging Surge, which increases crit rate, can stack, that cannot be dispelled. After taking action, if he possesses 4 or more stacks of Raging Surge and within danger zone, Radiant Shackle is removed, the turn count of buffs on him will not decrease, and can act again, which cannot be dispelled. When not possessing Radiant Shackle and entering battle, if the enemy's defense is greater than or equal to his magic defense, his attack is regarded as magic damage. After taking action, all Raging Surge stacks are removed and gets Radiant Shackle. So if you do check out his buffs, you do start off with Radiant Shackle. So by always checking this, you'll always know which one that he has. But another way that you can tell is if you just look at the character. You can see that he's glowing yellow or orange. Alright, so with the Awakener attacking with their AoE, you can see that some debuffs got applied afterwards, even with their talent too. So basically it's just stuff that you can be immunized with. Ymir just doesn't care. It's something that really incentivizes you to try to bait out because he really wants those. So yeah, more crit rate, and these do stacks by the way, which can go on indefinitely, which is why the Blazing Sun enchant is really good on him. But now that we got 4 more stacks of that Raging Surge, when you do end Ymir's turn in the danger zone, you will immediately be able to act again, as long as you have 4 more stacks of those Surge stacks. And so we do check out his buffs now. He no longer has Radiant Shackle, but now has a different one, where he does more damage against whatever defensive type is weaker. And he does lose all the stuff from Radiant Shackle, so that means he won't get the damage res, the immunity stuff, all of that. And then immediately right after, he will go back into Radiant Shackle. He quickly turns from being a bulky character into a pure damage dealer. Then after he's done attacking, he's back into being bulky. So we do got his 1C skill right here. It does have a command where it dispels 1 debuff from allied units within 3 blocks after they take action. If the dispel is successful, he gets 1 stack of Raging Surge. This skill heals him for 30% of his HP, gains 4 random buffs, and debuffs. For each stack of Raging Surge on him, the skill cooldown and the number of each effect received are reduced by 1. So yeah, what that entails is that right now, my Ymir has 3 stacks, right? So which means that his skill will be on a 1-turn cooldown while receiving 1 random buff and debuff. So let's start on the danger zone again, because this is also his act again skill. Technically it's not an act again skill, right? But the way the stuff it gives you, it triggers his act again from his talents. So yeah, now we do get 4 stacks of Raging Surge. I'm honestly not sure if we did get a random buff. Kind of hard to tell with all the stuff that I already got, but you can clearly see what just happened. And also right now my Selka does have 2 debuffs, so if I go ahead and do end her turn, Ymir feeds off of it since the debuff got dispelled thanks to his command effect. So we did lose the, I think it was the magic defense down. It also works with debuff that has a 1-turn cooldown too, like watch, I'll show you. I can end Ashen's turn, she has the mobility down and the fixed damage down, which are 1 turn, but Ymir still feeds off into it, even though that they would have been removed anyways after her turn ends. And I'll show you guys what it looks like when he doesn't have any Surge stacks at all. So you can use this. This time he'll get 4 buffs, so he'll automatically get the 4 Surge stacks that he needs to act again. And now the skill is on the 4-turn cooldown. And let's go ahead and see what the buffs he got. So looks like he got the attack up, defense up, magic defense as well, and even mobility too, looks like. And do be warned that if you do have, like, let's say 7 Surge stacks, after the second transformation that he does lose all of it. And also just keep it reminded in your head that it's not an actual act again skill. Treat it as more like an assist skill. Because remember, the act again only comes from his talent. He has to be in the danger zone while having 4 stacks of Rage Surge. This 1C only gives him the necessities to give him the Rage stacks so that he can act again. Just be really careful how you use it. Oh yeah, and also by the way, whenever you do act again, Breeze can stack on top of it. So we do check out his unique 2C. It's a single target skill. If the enemy has debuffs, it does more damage. Before entering battle, applies the number of random debuffs to an enemy equal to the amount of Raging Surge stacks on them, up to 4. So I do have 5, so it does cap out at 4. But if you do have stuff that actually applies debuff before battle, like the Bone Crusher, Apostle of Doom, those would be really good. So we check out the debuff. So the 4 debuffs that he actually applied are the passive skill disable, mobility down, and both of the offensive stats, while also having the armor disabled from the Bone Crusher that I have on him. And this is a skill that you might actually want to like act again into doing this skill, so that you actually get the damage increase. But if you do actually have equipment that applies debuff before battle, then you can honestly use the skill into act again into something else. And so now we do check out his 3C, the passive on it, plus 2 mobility when not possessing Radiant Shackle. After taking action for each stack's Raging Surge, recovers 10% of his HP. It's a single target skill. If the enemy has a debuff, they cannot trigger a revive effect during battle. Before battle, for each stack of Raging Surge the unit has, converts one of the enemy's buff into a debuff. If the enemy does not die, gains 4 stacks of Raging Surge at the start of the next turn, which immediately gains them when possessing Radiant Shackle. Otherwise, he can move another 3 blocks. And the Revive Disable is only effective in PvP. So my Ymir does have 6 stacks of Raging Surge, Landius has quite a bit, looks like 7 buffs on him. So we should see the amount of debuffs that Ymir can apply, but I don't think it would matter since I'm pretty sure that Ymir is gonna kill him, but we will see. We will see how things go. Yeah, just as expected. Just barely killing him. He almost died himself right there too. And because he got to kill, he's able to move back. And you saw the amount of healing that he got, which was a 60% healing thanks to that passive. So I did take a bit of a risk because I didn't let him transform, which would have allowed Ymir to do a bit more damage. Because this skill, you actually want to be able to one-shot. You have to make sure 100% certainty that you know that you can kill with it. Which is really possible for Ymir. He does an insane amount of damage, even with the Redeemer Soldier too. Like, you would be surprised. Oh my goodness, I even went far and beyond to give him 18 stacks of this. And then with Christian, that has like Bozentio stacks with a bunch of these stuff, Christian's about to have like no buffs at all, except for the ones that cannot be dispelled. He's about to have nothing. Oh, look at it all disappear. Oh man, I wish I could see like the debuffs. That would have been so amazing. But Ymir just does so much damage. Oh, and look at that healing. That was like 28k. Okay, yeah, so I had to take him to the Dragon State because Ymir was just like that strong. So yeah, what we're looking at is what happens if the enemies actually survive against the Thxs, because apparently next turn he does get 4 stacks of Raging Surge if the enemy survives. So the turn is gonna start right now. Immediately gets 4 stacks of Raging Surge, which is something that you don't exactly want, especially in stuff like in PvP, because that's gonna put him in a rough spot. But it's also the fact with this Thxs, at least in PvP, Ymir wants to be able to one-shot everything with it, especially tanks. So even though you guys saw that Ymir was able to put up a lot of damage even while using a Redeemer Soldier, it's still a sure chance. In order to play it safe, maybe weaken the tank. But if you want to actually see like one-shotting, like seeing them go from 100% to death, maybe Ymir can pull it off, but if you have the Blazing Sun enchant, most likely you will be able to. Ymir has a really high crit rate chance, and always just remember, if those enemies has a revive, those enemies need a debuff for the revive disable. So if you don't have debuff equips, then you'll always rely on this 1C, which you should be using anyways for the debuffs, and is at the again. So, overall, Ymir can be really good if you understand how he works. It is kinda easy to tell where his strongs and weak points are. He's quite self-sufficient, he's really strong, and bulky, but he's so reliant on applying debuffs to bring out the most out of him, which is an issue since he has the necessities to do those. The more debuffs that he gets, the more rage stack that he gets, which he really depends on to get the better effect of his skills. It isn't consistent either, so you do gotta make the most out of it whenever you decide to go right on in with them. So it's why Ymir really wants to bait out his opponents, especially those with AoEs that can apply debuffs. Even his allies can help with that too, with that 1C command effect, if they have debuffs also. But once you use it the way it is, without any of those rage stacks, then it's like, what now? You gotta wait like 4 turns for it to come back, which is a problem that you're gonna run into quite a bit, because if he doesn't have opponents that can apply debuffs, then he's gonna have to use it to get those stacks. And it's his way of effectively approaching his enemies. It's something that you'll always be doing so that you can apply debuffs to take out enemies who can revive with this 3C. And that's a skill that you always want to be one-shotting with. It is one of the biggest reasons why people run a clock on him, and why Celica is a strong pair with him. She pairs well with anyone. What makes this 3C really important is because that revive disable is very unique. You just need one debuff for it to work, which makes him more reliable than any other characters who have to double tap them, or actually apply a unique debuff to disable that revive. So having the Bone Crusher, having the Apostle of Doom will really help to make sure he actually gets at least one of them. In case you have to face opponents like Rosentio, the more rage stack that he gets, the amount of times that he can apply debuffs. And not just only that, if you do end up failing the kill with this 3C, on the next turn, you will be able to get that rage stack back. That's if he survives. So yeah, the way how you want to play Ymir becomes almost precise. So you can actually have this rage stack beforehand, so that in a later turn, you can get it back, instead of just having to use this 1C into attacking right away. It is because of this issue that I can see Ymir really fade away quickly, but the main issue that you'll run into with them is this consistency, unless you have Clock or have someone like Celica with them. Alright, so that was Ymir's showcase. In regular content, he can be very niche to use. His debuffs can allow his teammates for follow-up attacks. He can be very okay to use, but I can think of other characters who can do a lot better. I don't think he's that bad to use. He's someone that you probably won't think of using. unless you actually have Clock running with them. In PvP, he's very bulky, sufficient with great mobility, while being probably the best character right now to deal with revive enemies since he is very strong as well. During pick and bans, you might actually want to face characters like Edon Kelmo to get him ramped up. The more rage stack that he gets, the better his performance will become. It can be scary for your other teammates, but Ymir is very capable of soloing. So I would even suggest doing some practicing with him because he can be very confusing to use at first. But that's all I got. If you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about Ymir or if there was anything more that you would like to add on to him. So yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.